This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome back to another week of Top Shelf. Greg, how are you this week?
I'm good, Mike. How are you, buddy?
I'm excited to get this. I think I'm more excited for this draft to be done and over with so we can stop talking about it.
Yeah. It's always nice when you it's the knowing, it's the not knowing that hurts.
And I've never been a big draft nerd. NFL, I mean, obviously a lot of, everyone that listens, we're all NFL fans as well. The drafts are exciting and stuff, but drafts are fun, but to me the biggest thing about the draft, it's unknown. You don't know what you're going to get, and more so in hockey. The draft is important this year because, one, it's Steve Yzerman's first draft. It's hopefully what's the beginning of the actual rebuild when things to start swing the positive way for Wings and us Wings fans. There was a couple moves the other night. Of course, I had mentioned them past couple weeks. I put out some poll information out there to see what people thought. Jacob Trouba went from Winnipeg to the Rangers, which is no surprise. All the early reports had New York heavily, after him anyway. Carlson staying with the Sharks makes it. I'm not surprised in the least bit. The thing that surprises me is the contract that he got, an 8-year contract, and that's just one thing that I kind of want to talk about because this kind of goes over to both sports, hockey and football. I just don't understand why these contracts have to be so long. We saw what happened with Johan Franzen. He got the first, I think, long-term deal that really made me think, oh my God. He was good. He hasn't played a second of hockey in years, and they're still paying this guy. And this is what I have a problem with long-term contracts. Carlson, as good as he is, arguably probably the best defenseman in hockey. You could argue that with a couple guys right now. An 8-year deal, and I forget what the money amount was because I didn't really care because he was there for the next 8 years. So the dream of him wearing the Wings sweater is dead. No surprise though, but 8 years. So let's just say you have a guy that is 25 years old, and you're going to put this guy under contract for the next 8 years. What if this guy turns into a complete bum in 2 years, 3 years, gets hurt or whatever it is? You're stuck. You're screwed.
Well, getting hurt, you get stuck. If you cut, there's usually provisions in the contract. If you get cut or you get traded, not traded, but if you get cut,
right,
there's only so much that's due.
But that never happens in hockey, though. Your cap hit, because the cap hit wasn't as bad with Franzen, but there's still a cap number because you're paying that player.
Yeah, but it depends on how the verbiage of the contract as well.
It does.
Right. The benefit to the 8-year contract is that they don't have to negotiate with him for 8 years now. That's the benefit. They know that he's going to cost them a certain amount against that cap, and the salary cap's going to go up every year. So they know that, if he's $10 million a year, they know that for the next 8 years, $10 million of their salary is eaten up, and they don't have to negotiate with him in 2 years and go from $10 million to $14 million a year.
Right.
That's the benefit. I tell you what the benefit is in hockey. I don't very rarely do I hear anybody in hockey bitching about how my 8-year contract needs to be renegotiated in year 3 like those asshats in football do.
Yeah, there's 2 of them on the Detroit Lions right now doing that same stuff, and Doc and Jock were talking about that today, which I'll be on my way home tonight. I'll be listening to the rest of that discussion, but Adam had a great point. It's talking about the Lions right now briefly, about these contract situations that we see with these athletes. Darius Slay just renegotiated his contract 2 years ago, and Adam's point was very valid. If that extension is no longer that good to you now, why did you sign it 2 years ago? You still have 2 years left to go.
Yeah,
and now it's what I'd love to see in pro sports. This will never happen, but it's what I'd love to see, like 2 to 3 year max length contracts. 2 years, 3 years. If you have someone that you're that. Let's say Dylan Larkin. I'd have no problems giving him 3 years, and then you just redo it 3 years from now, 2 years from now, however that happens. Hockey players, you don't really see much of the sitting out or any of the bullshit that these other athletes play or do in sports, basketball, football, or whatever, what have you. But I would love to see a 3-year cap. It'll never happen. Just what I personally would like to see. 3 years max on that.
Well, there's give and take with that because the players want that long-term contract because it's
stability
security and stability.
Security is the word I was meant to say.
when you sign a contract with somebody, it's like a handshake agreement. There's a bond of honor that happens when you do that. You're saying that I agree to play for you for the next 4 years at this price, and the team is saying we agree to pay you for the next 4 years at this price.
If you play, for the next
if you play for the next 4 years, but. This is what pisses me off about it. Now, when Slay signed his contract, he got paid like a top tier cornerback. Okay,
right.
And he is a top tier cornerback. If you look around the NFL, he's up there.
He's up there,
He's a
but
definite
he did
starter.
not have a renegotiating year last year.
No, he didn't. But that's where I'm going. That's where I'm getting at with this. He says, okay, I want this. They pay him that, and he's happy with that. But then last year, when the salary cap went up, somebody else signed. They got more money, blah, 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 blah. Now he's upset that he's not making that. What would have happened if he would have been complete and utter trash last year? Would the Lions have been able to go to him and say, you know what, we're paying you too much. We're going to need to renegotiate. You know what would happen right then? He'd slam the door in their face. So I don't feel like when you're under contract, when you have a contract, you honor that contract till the end. Now I'm old school. I was brought up to follow through with my words, but these guys are so money hungry and greedy. It's just really sad when that happens to me. And I don't think it's about protecting the team or protecting the player like John and Adam were talking about. It's a business deal. It's a business negotiation. It's no different than you going to Spectrum and paying this much for cable and then saying, well, you know what, I'm only paying $25 a month, because you know what Spectrum's going to say, well, guess what, you ain't got no cable.
Yeah, but there's a key word in that whole point you just made: contract.
Yeah.
You sign the contract, you play your contract.
Absolutely.
But
and that's how I feel about it.
To expand on my point, like I just looked it up real quick, Eric Carlson got an 8-year deal worth $88 million.
So 11 a year.
So he's getting 11 a year.
And
is he worth it?
Probably backloaded.
And it's more than likely, if they're smart, it's backloaded. And you get him while he's playing now, the level he's playing now. I can see that. I mean, by no means did I want to see the Wings use up that much cap space on one player, because they need more than one player. So that just kind of brings me to the topic that you brought up, which honestly I didn't really think too much about until the past few days. And I would give a shout out to, there's a guy on Twitter at Red Wing Diehards. He's always got a lot of conversation and stuff. I've kind of gone back and forth with him a little bit on some stuff. Again, looking very forward to the draft. But the question that you put out, or the point that you made out for the draft and all of the mock drafts that I've listened to, I've read about, I've done way more research on this draft than I ever have a hockey draft ever, because let's face it, we haven't ever had to.
It's an important draft for us. It's a very important draft for us.
100%. And it also, again, John made a good point about it. Like, everyone's putting all these other owners on the hot seat and everything in Detroit, but anything Yzerman does, everyone just thinks is going to turn to gold. There's a reason why. Because everything he has touched has turned to gold.
Yep.
The only thing it didn't turn to was silver, but it's not his fault. He put the team in a position in Tampa Bay to do that, and they just didn't. But it happens. Nothing's ever a guarantee. So the draft coming up tomorrow, with all the mock drafts, we pick 6th, and I've heard 12 different players probably of people projecting the Detroit takes. You brought up the point that they should take Spencer Knight, a goalie at number 6. Now, at first, I blew it off like, just because we've been programmed over these past years, drafts tends to go in trends. Remember, like in the 90s, when the big thing was which running back is going to go number 1? Like, because running backs were like a commodity, like huge. That was the cornerstone of your franchise. Get that first running back in the draft. It was a huge deal. You don't see that anymore. You don't see running backs go primarily till late first round, most second round. Look how long it took Delvin Cook to get drafted.
Yes.
But the point of that is, this kid, from all accounts, and you brought this up on the last episode, which, again, I didn't really think about till later in the week. Why not take Spencer Knight at number 6 in hopes that he is going to be your franchise goalie? Outside of, we've been programmed to not think that way. And I even had some guys on Twitter go back, like, any goalie at 6 is crazy. Is it?
No, it's not, if you need a goalie.
And let's be honest, we don't have any franchise goalies lighting it up like Tuukka Rask, and I know Tuukka Rask is in a different league, but we've lacked that stability at goalie for a long time. Howard is a good NHL goalie. To me, he's been incredibly inconsistent for what he's getting paid. a lot of fans have liked Jimmy Howard. He's had some decent years. He's had some amazing performances, but he's had some not great nights. And it's been all year last year. He was very inconsistent.
Everybody has not great nights.
Sure.
But what you have to think about is when people start talking about top-tier goalies in the NHL, is Jimmy Howard one of those?
No.
Nobody brings his name up.
I don't think he is. At one point, he's made a few All-Star games, deservedly so. But what I hope happens, what would be nice to happen, is eventually get that goalie that's putting that performance in year after year after year.
Well, somebody, I watched one of your Twitter exchanges, and I didn't say anything because I'm sitting there going,
because we'll keep it positive, and we're not really going to get snotty with anybody.
I don't like to crap on anybody's opinion because opinions, that's what they are.
Sure.
And my opinion's not right. I am not a GM. But I see this. The guy was saying picking a goalie at 6 is he said ludicrous.
Right.
And the only way we should do that is if we can trade back and get a whole bunch of picks for it. He says we have to have a goal scorer. When you watch hockey, you've got 25 guys on and off the ice that are goal scorers. They can all skate, they can all shoot, they can all handle the puck. Yes, they're not all Sidney Crosbys and they're not all Mario Lemieux, but they can all skate and they can all shoot and they can all play.
And let's not forget, last year the Wings had 3 players over 20 goals.
Yeah.
They had 3 20-plus goal scorers last year.
And no Mantha. Not for what he should have been out there.
He could have had a lot more. I believe Mantha did have over 25 goals. I think it was Mantha, Athanasiou, and Larkin. Which is Larkin had a great year last year, and he's expected to continue to do the same, especially since I think it's a foregone conclusion he's going to end up with the C on his sweater this fall.
Yeah. So he says you have to have a goal scorer.
Right.
But when do you concern yourself with the guy that never leaves the ice? He never leaves the ice.
Right.
And I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, that's you," but think about that. He is out there for 60 minutes. Those other guys are out there for like 22, 27. On and off the ice.
That's on the high end.
Yeah. So here's a guy that can legitimately take your franchise and play above average. He doesn't have to be a world beater. He has to be consistent, and he has to be good. And if you guys want to tell me I'm wrong, that's fine.
Please no.
I'm going to say 2 words: Jordan Binnington.
Yeah, and again, I know that's you could look at that as a flash in the pan or a very rarity, but guess what? It just happened.
It just happened, and he is the reason that they were where they are. That guy, he may be an average goalie with great defensemen in front of him. I don't know. All I know is that they were in last place until they put Jordan Binnington in goal.
They were 32 out of 32 teams.
Yeah.
Dead last. Not just last in their conference. They were dead last in the NHL.
They were last. So, you know what? Sometimes, people looked at the guy that runs Tesla. I'm forgetting his name right now. Elon Musk as a kook because he's going to make electric cars. Yeah, right. Well, let's look.
Guess what?
Think outside the box. Yeah, maybe 6 is high for a goalie, but you know what? You need a goalie.
Right.
You need a goalie.
And I know that Detroit needs a few things, but I don't think they need as many more goal scorers as they do game savers, which is defensemen and a goalie. Now, would it be so? And I would love to get some more feedback on this on our Twitter, which is at Top Shelf DSP. Give us your thoughts. Give us your input on that. Let us know. Is it crazy? Or is it crazy to just stop and maybe think outside the box every now and then and think, why not? If we need a goalie, and here's what you should do. Before you make that remark, go online and read about Spencer Knight. All reports basically from what you had turned me on to, and I went and read a few articles. This kid, correct me if I'm wrong, but finished top 10 in how many different categories?
He was top 10 in 8 of the 18 categories that they measure goalies on.
Okay.
He's played on the U.S. national team.
Yep.
There are people that have worked with this kid that say there is nothing that he doesn't do to achieve his goal, and that he is a genuinely good person who's bright and intelligent and has a hockey mind. He's got captain written all over him if they made goalies captains. They don't. Right. But he's that type of individual. This guy, when I hear stories about him, you know who he reminds me of?
Who's that?
He reminds me of Tom Brady. Because he has never let anything stand in his way. He figures out how to go and get what he wants. And how would you not want somebody like that on your team?
I've like I said, after thinking about this, a couple weeks ago when we did our last episode, for a few days, I just, what the heck, we've got time before we record our next one. A lot of stuff may happen. Not too much has happened other than just mock drafts. Let's be honest. I went and I read numerous articles on this kid, Spencer Knight. Again, go check it out. Nothing short of the guy you want to build your franchise around. Not just ability, but character, the way he handles himself, the way he prepares for games, hard worker, everything off in the off season. It's not that most hockey players aren't like that, but at the same time, it's something that Detroit is desperately needed now for a while. The last goalie that I would say Detroit had that I can honestly say that, I never had to worry at all about goalies, Dominic Hasek in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
And
fair enough.
Jimmy Howard he's had some good performances. He's had some decent years up and down, but just too inconsistent. It'd be nice to have that franchise goalie that is going to be our goalie for years to come. Why not?
One of the reasons I hear people say you don't do that is because, so many goalies don't pan out. But how many wings don't pan out? How many defensemen don't pan out, right?
Right.
Here's what I think is the brilliance of it. The back end. We all agree the back end on Detroit is weak right now.
Absolutely.
So you go out and you get this kid. Now you have this kid who is, and you start him. You just start him. You've got a goalie on a rookie contract now.
Right.
So now all that money that you're paying Howard can be put somewhere else.
Yeah.
Trade Howard or option, whatever you got to do to get rid of that money. But there's going to be guys that know how to skate and shoot in the second round. There might not be great goalies in the second round. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it's not even debatable based on all the stuff and all the rankings and all that stuff. He's the best goalie in the draft. He is the diamond in the rough when it comes to goalies in this draft.
By far.
And it's
the best goalie
it's not
draft.
even close. Now,
Correct.
Again, that's all speculation because none of these kids have played at the NHL level before, but the level that Spencer Knight is playing at and what he's accomplishing, not just in a couple categories, in 8 categories out of 18, he's killing it. He's tearing it up.
I would, and you can't teach athleticism. You can't teach it. You have it. You may teach how to use it better. Here's the other thing too. Don't think that I'm just want a goalie just because.
Right.
If we were drafting third, I wouldn't be pushing this goalie.
No, and it's all based on what we're hearing and reading about this guy and how good he is. And to hear this kind of, I mean, I don't want to say, I can't even think of the word that I'm trying to use. All of the hearsay that this guy, it's not just a couple different articles. Nothing bad is being written about this guy.
All the talk at the water cooler is about what a player this kid is.
Yeah, so I say why not? I know it won't happen. It just won't. But another interesting tidbit that came out today, we're recording this on Thursday, so everyone will know about it by tomorrow. There's apparently rumors out there that Vancouver is interested in the number 6 spot that Detroit has. So we'll see what pans out. Again, I can't wait for this draft to happen so we can stop talking about what's going to happen in this draft.
By all accounts, this draft is a crapshoot after number 6.
Yeah, you get outside now. The one,
excuse me, number 5. It's number 5 on is a crapshoot.
And it usually is. Of
course.
The top 10, really, you're going to get some skilled players, but you're right. The cream of the crop, you're going to get in that top half of the first 10 players.
This is the first NHL draft that I've ever really dove into. I'm always like, cool, they drafted him. Do you know how hard it is to keep up with all the prospects? I would not want to be an NHL scout.
It's impossible.
You've got the KHL and you've got college, and then you've got all the leagues in Canada
across Europe,
and then every country that ends in avia over there. Holy Lord!
There's a lot of different leagues over there, and that's why that all these NHL teams have staff fully filled out, and all they do is they tour the world and they scout. Ken Holland did that for a long time over in Sweden and all those countries, like you were saying, all the EAs over there. But they have staffs of people that just do this because, like you said, there's so many leagues. But it's rare that you hear this much, fire being thrown out there about a goalie. And I just, to back your point up, I think it's not crazy to think about. I don't think it'll happen, but I kind of wish it would.
Yeah, it might not.
Because it's such a need. It really is. And who knows if, maybe we get him and he takes a little bit longer. We still have Howard. to help develop him and help bring him along. But
I looked up Howard's stats. Last year, he allowed 156 goals on 1,709 shots, so his save percentage was .909.
I mean,
which is decent.
It's
so
not,
that means
it's not horrible. Anything in the 90s is not bad.
That means 1 out of every 10 shots goes in.
But
and I looked at Bennington's stats, and now he only played half a season. He
Right.
gave up 60 goals on 811 shots, and he had 5 shutouts, which Howard had none, and his goals allowed was .926.
And he's a rookie.
Yeah, almost 2 full points better.
Kid was going to prom a year ago.
Yeah, he was.
That's
He was actually playing for the Bruins organization last year. They didn't have a spot for him, so he was playing in like one of the lower ends of the Bruins, which is extremely ironic.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Small world.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with the lead up with the rumors out there. Should Detroit trade that number 6 spot? I guess it depends on what they get in return. I firmly believe that they need to focus on the back end. It's always good to add scores, but like you said, it's not like we're shorthanded scores. So we'll see. I'll be following it along. Of course, I'll be live tweeting the crap out of it as it happens, especially since actually us and one of our buddies will be out having some drinks and some dinner tomorrow night. But I'll be keeping an eye on it. Get home for some of it, and something else I really wanted to talk about because this has really been bugging me since it happened. The finals, we can all agree, were amazing.
I'm still trying to get to sleep.
Like you said, from puck drop to the first game of the first series all the way through the final, it was amazing. But the night that the night that the Blues clinched and won the cup, Bennington was not named the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. For the life of me, and I mean, pretty much a lifelong hockey fan, watching that series, watching these playoffs, how in the world was Bennington not named the Conn Smythe winner?
For everybody at home, I'm shaking my head as he says that. I think that is probably...
and you live in a Bruins household.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry for that.
No, that's all right. No, fair enough. I mean, my wife's family is all from Boston.
So you got,
and you know what? And I was pulling
pull for the wife.
I was pulling for Boston. Happy wife, happy life.
If they had won, I'd have been happy for Susan.
Yeah. And you know what? And my thought process was after it was over, doggone it, you can't win them all.
Right.
It was an amazing series. It was amazing. But I firmly believe after thinking about that, the only reason he didn't win that was because they said we can't give the MVP to a rookie, which is total hogwash. Yeah, that's garbage to think that way. Because this kid won that game for them, because I think the Bruins I looked it up, I forget, I think it was 19 shots on goal in the first period of Game 7.
Yep. Game 7.
Of Game 7. In the first period, they put up 19 shots on goal, and he stopped every one of them.
On a rookie.
Which meant that when Boston screwed up on that line change, and they got that second goal, that put it out of reach.
Well, that just shows you how narrow the margin for error was in this series and basically the whole playoffs, with the exception of a couple blowouts that looked like they got out of hand, but the scores didn't really get like that till the third period.
Correct.
But I just can't believe it. But it does show you that, with those stats, that in a Game 7, how this kid performed, just overwhelmingly, in my mind, deserves that trophy.
I'm going to beat a dead horse. Him not being MVP is a bigger travesty than Chicago drafting third.
That's a bold statement.
That's a bold statement.
Can I compliment you on keeping it clean by saying hogwash? That was in an attempt to keep things clean. Yep, that was a good one.
I'm a jarhead, but I still retained a few points of my IQ there. So
that's a pretty good one. So
Thanks.
Yeah, it's I know it's a little shorter episode this week, but it's next week is really going to be a fun one to do because all the fallout that what happens, who we drafted, who they got, did trades happen or anything like that, and something that we're really hoping that we can pull off next week. We tried it like crazy to have it this week, but we're hoping to have Adam Straczynski from Doc and Jock, on as a guest so we can all talk about the repercussions of the draft, if any trades were happening, just to get his input on it. He's a big Detroit guy, just like all of us listening, and it'll be fun to have Adam on here to go back and forth. Adam is Adam, John, all those guys are awesome. Adam and I click really big because we're both big Wolverine fans. He loves Detroit sports just like everyone else on this network, which is great. But it'll be really fun to have Adam on. We just got to get our new equipment figured out and make that happen. But we will within a week.
I want to say something to Adam real quick here, and I can say this because it's a Red Wings podcast. When I was on the phone today talking with him about needing some technical assistance, trying to figure out how to make this phone call thing work, in the background at the radio station he works at, I heard somebody say, what's more important, who needs to win now, the Red Wings or the Pistons? Adam, I'd like you to tell them that I said the Red Wings because nobody cares about the Pistons.
Yeah, it's if you listen to Doc and Jock, they had a really good discussion. What the discussion was who has more, and we won't get into the whole thing. You can listen to Doc and Jock because they did a way better job of it than I could, because I'm more hockey than anything, especially when it comes to basketball or baseball. Who has more pressure to win? Al Avila, which is the owner of the GM of the Tigers, or Stepanski, which is the GM of the Pistons? I mean, the Tigers have been bad now, it seems like, for so long, and the Pistons just got in the playoffs, but did horrible. It'll be fun to see what happens there. I would love the Pistons to come back because the bad boy days were amazing.
They were. I was pulling for them.
The team with Billups and Rasheed Wallace and Prince. That was when they beat the Lakers, that was amazing too, and that was fun to watch. And I would love to get into the Pistons again, but they got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, they do.
And so do the Wings, and that's why this draft, to circle it back to what we're here for, this draft is huge because it's going to be the stepping stone to which is hopefully a return for this team to get to where they should be, and that's a contender. It's what most of us listening grew up with. I'm 46, and the better part of my years, I remember 25 years of playoffs and 4 cups and a lot of appearances in finals and conference finals and punching matches with the Avalanche, and it was good, and we all want that back, and it'll get players back in the arena, and that's what we're really hoping for.
Well, the first step has been taken with Yzerman. That's the first step. The second step is giving him the time and the ability and the money that he needs, and giving him the option and the ability to go out and get the parts, because we've got a pretty good structure. We got a solid structure. We need to put the specialties things in place that make us powerful.
It was funny because today, again, John, he was kind of making it. It wasn't a shot, but it sounded like he's like, but when it comes to Yzerman, he can do no wrong, and everyone's like, he's going to do everything. But I said it before. I think our first episode. Take away the legacy that he has in Detroit. He's earned it as a GM. He did it, and he's done it all in the salary cap era. So the hype is real. It's deserved. He's proved it with one organization, and now let's just hope he can do it with his organization.
Let's see how happy we are next week.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll get it figured out. We'll have Adam on, and I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun, and we'll get his take on a lot of stuff with the Wings and expectations and all that fun stuff that Adam always brings when we talk about anything, especially on Twitter. We go back and forth a lot on Twitter. Me, John, you. It's a lot of fun. Vito even throws in his shots every now and then. But so that'll be it for this week. In that next episode, we will we'll cover the draft, and more importantly, we also want to let you know that Greg and I also have our own podcast. Greg, why don't you tell them a little bit about it?
It's a good time. It's called Top 5 for Fighting. We are on Podomatic, just like the DSP, where you're picking us up with Top Shelf here. It's just a couple of knuckleheads sitting in a room, and we really just kind of talk about whatever we're talking about. Movies, sports, games, videos, music, comics, whatever you want.
I think your wife said it best. It's just like hanging out with your buddies.
But you don't have to share our beer with us.
You just don't have to share your beer with us.
There you go.
And hey, if Adam likes it, then that's justified.
That's true.
If you ask me.
I think if you're looking for something that you might enjoy listening to, we typically keep it about an hour and 15 minutes, and we think you'll laugh a couple times. So why don't you give it a whirl?
That's really all it boils down to. You just got to laugh.
It does.
So why not have a fun car ride every now and then? So listen to us at Top 5 for Fighting, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes,
Podomatic.
Everywhere the DSP is.
Top5forfighting.com. You can go there, and all the links are there. So
Yep. And our Twitter, it's at Top Shelf DSP. Give us your feedback on the goalie thought and topic, and let's get back together, and we'll talk about it on the next episode. Thanks for listening.
And in the meantime, go Wings.
Go Wings, always.